I have a very good friend, actually one of the co-founders of Friendzone, who is perpetually late, right? And we have this like inside joke where if you ask like, oh, how long are you going to be? She says 30 minutes. And then you have to ask her, real 30 minutes or fake 30 minutes? And then she'll be like, ha ha ha, ha 1 hour, right? But it's also because you know your friend, and then you care about the friend and you value the friendship, that even though, okay, my friend is like perpetually late, but that's just them, right? And then I just adapt to it. Like I know, okay, if I'm supposed to meet her at 3, mentally that's a 4, because in reality it'll be a 4 for her. So then I just do my thing and then plan my time so that I'll be there at 4.
Welcome back to another episode of The Usual Place. Have any of you tried to make friends as an adult and like me found it hard? I'm not talking about people you see once in a while or like their social media posts when you're scrolling, but a really good close friend with whom you can send memes to, you can go on holiday with, or let your intrusive thoughts come out. And if you're like me, and if you want to find out how to make friends as an adult, perhaps the 2 people in The Usual Place today can lead us in the right direction. I have Grace, who is the co-founder and CEO of Friendzone SG, which connects people and creates community. And also on the couch is Jarell, who is the co-founder of Offline Singapore, which organizes social networking events. So welcome to The Usual Place. So I think for viewers who are not familiar with you guys, maybe you want to give us a one-liner of what Offline Singapore is and what Friendzone SG is. So maybe Grace, tell us, what do you do?
So Friendzone is a social company that hosts events for people to make friends in different zones of their life. So we host events in neighborhoods, in industries, and for companies to build better relationships between people in different contexts. That's why we're called Friendzone.
Okay, so not the other kind of friendzone.
No, not that kind of friendzone.
All right.
And not a dating event, not a dating company.
Okay, Jarell, tell me what does Offline do?
We're also not a dating company. We run social networking events for people aged 25 to 35. And the caveat is there is a vibe check call you need to go through before you come to the event with the co-founders, myself and my co-founder. So yeah, we run in a private space.
Okay, we'll get to the vibe check call in a bit, but yes, why is it so difficult to make friends as an adult?
I mean, I guess there's a ton of reasons, right? But one core thing is that generally when we're in school, we have a fixed schedule and there's lots of opportunities to spend time with our friends. But after you graduate and everyone's living their own lives, when people work in different industries, they have different work schedules. So some people work shifts, some people work flexible hours, some people work like 9 to 6s, and everyone has different priorities. So it gets so much harder to catch up with your friends or meet your friends once you start work.
Actually, Jarell, do you think it's because we also, I see what Grace is saying, but also is it because we're kind of like set in the way we are in our life outlook? What do you think?
Yeah, I think when we are young, right, we kind of explore with the people around us. And then once you're an adult, you're like, okay, this is what I want. I know what I want. I don't want this, I don't want that, but I want this. And then it becomes harder because you set so much, the parameter gets tighter and tighter. Right, so that is why it's harder, which means you need to make more effort, actually, which is why it's actually more tiring because you're like working and life is in the way. But in school, you're like, okay, from morning to evening, you're just meeting your friends, eating in the class, sitting next to each other.
Doing projects together.
Yeah, that is why I just thought of an example, which is in the army, people make great friendships and connections because you spend the whole day in camp doing nothing and talking to each other. And time is really a critical factor in friendships, I think.
Yeah, I also think like in school, generally friendships are more casual. Like you don't think so deeply about friendships, but only once you like start working, then you realize how much effort you need to put into friendships and how intentional you need to be about keeping friends.
Do you think we have a friendship problem in Singapore? Because I'm just asking because you guys exist. Like, do people struggle to make friends here or at a certain age group?
Go.
I think like my realization was when I was 20, during COVID, during lockdown, I spent time with my same friends from secondary school like, every single week because there's 5 in the house, right? And that's when I realized I'd be hanging out with the same people. Yeah. So that's my realization. I think a lot of people might not realize it. And I also realized it when my friends started to get married. Like, it became real at that point in time. And I can see some younger people, maybe their friends are not married, they have no kids. They feel, yes, they have so much friends. And that's true. Which is why the highest percentage of people that, at least in my event, is 29, 30, 31. Yeah.
Okay. So is that when you realize like their friends are getting married, they are having children, and then the single people like need to find other people who are like them in the same life stage, is it?
Yeah. So like from what we checked, like 80% are single. They have just more free time, I guess. But there are still a small percentage, like 20% are actually attached. Sorry, 15% attached, 5% are married. So it's quite like you have a small percentage of people who are married but still feel like they need friends. I think they have that realization like me as well. Yeah.
Do you believe we need friends, or can we exist as like singular beings?
I mean, we definitely need friends. Like, I don't think anyone can get through life alone. I mean, we don't have it all figured out, right?
Yeah.
And the beauty of friends is that, I mean, on one hand, they can give you feedback, right? I mean, someone who's close in your life, who knows you well, can call you out on your blind spots. Someone who cares for you and really knows you can be there for you in like difficult times. Someone that you can turn to and lean on. So, I mean, I think friends are very important, and we really can't do life alone. But also to add on to the previous question, right? I think one of the other realities about friend making or friendship in adulthood is that different people struggle with different aspects of friendship. So it could be maybe on a workplace and you don't have friends in your office, but you have friends in your personal life. For some people, it's like, okay, I have tons of like acquaintances, but I don't have close friends. So I think the friendship issue that people face is very subjective, and it can really come down to a lot of different factors.
So for me, like life comprises of family, friends, and your partner. So if you don't have a partner and you're not close to your family, like for example, I don't think I'm that close to family compared to other people, then friends become a critical part. But if you're close to your family and you have a partner, your friends might sit at like the third tier. They might not be as important because you can tell your problems to your family members and your partner. Right? So,
Can I ask you, speaking of tears, do your friendship have tears? Do you have friendship tears? Close friends,
Go
very
super
close friends. Like, yeah, I know my friends were talking about this a couple recently, and then we were like, do you like group people? Do you have like different groupings for different people?
yes.
Yeah, I have.
Oh,
I
what
want
is
to
it?
hear,
What
I
is
want to
it?
hear
What
your
is
first
it?
way.
I mean, so I think about it in like from 1 to 10, and then like 8, 9, 10 is like my ride or die. Like super close friends would be my bridesmaid kind.
Okay.
And maybe like 5, 6, 7 is like good friend would catch up with. Then maybe like 1 to 5 is like acquaintance. Okay, but generally I'm a friendly person, so I can like chat with people very easily. So I think for me, it's also about knowing who to prioritize. I think in the past I was someone who, because I'm so social, like I will spend a lot of time like getting to know 1 to 5s. And then it came a season in my life I realized I was neglecting my like 8, 9, 10s, because in my mind, you are already my 8, 9, 10. Like I don't need to put in effort to maintaining that. But I think what happened was that my 8, 9, 10s realized that I wasn't spending time with them. So they deprioritized me. And that was when I realized like, okay, I need to also be intentional about keeping my 8, 9, 10s close. And so I actually went through a season where I was like, hey, I just want you to know that like you're one of my closest friends and I really value our friendship, and like what can we do to keep that friendship going and keep it strong? It's almost like redefining the relationship, almost like dating, right? But
Yeah.
I think in adulthood, it's also important to let your close friends know that like, hey, you are a close friend to me and your friendship matters to me.
It takes work, huh?
Yeah.
I think people don't realize that. Like with friends, you would do it with a partner, you would do it with family, like you'll take your parents out or you'll take, hang out with your siblings. But I think with friends, you kind of take it for granted. I don't know. Do you all feel the same way? Like,
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
And I think it adds with the part that at least I think in our culture, society, like family is important. Then finding a partner is also important. But has anyone said, have you made any friends? No. Like, have you found a girlfriend? That's the question people ask. Or have you found a boyfriend? The question should be, have you made any new friends, right? Like,
Yeah. It's like a social script, right? It's always about like, like,
and that
how's your career
brainwashes
doing?
us,
Yeah.
right? Like, to thinking that actually partners are more important than friends. But when you have a problem with your partner, you actually go to your friend.
Oh, and you won't tell your mom?
I'm not sure if my mom can help me, but
Okay. Well, what is the bro code? Like, what are the tiers? Is it different for guys with the friendship thing? I don't know. I just want
I
to
was trying
break
to
into that
think, like,
psyche.
I think I segment them, like, for example, if I want to chill out and have a dinner, like, this would be the group of guys. If I want to go out and have drinks, there's a certain type of group that I would go with. Yeah. So,
It's more like activity-based groupings.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe guys think a bit different.
No, I have a girlfriend who also does it that way also.
Oh,
For
okay,
it's like,
okay.
if I want to go clubbing, it's this group of friends. But I would never go to like brunch with the clubbing group of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll find it too boring.
Do you see differences in the way people of different age groups make friends? Because Jarell, you segment people. You only help people between 25 to 35 make friends. And have you noticed anything interesting between the people on the edge, like the 25 versus the 35-year-olds? Like, is there any difference?
Okay, so personality-wise, I think 25s are more bubbly and energetic by the majority of the time. The 35s, they might not be as bubbly. They still have some energy, but they're a bit more mellow. A bit more mellow about it.
Because
Life.
Yeah. I think they're just tired from work. Like, I have to do this vibe check call. What the hell? Like, okay. But I think the expectations for older people are higher as well.
in what sense?
So as you're older, you get less energy. Your social battery is maybe a little bit smaller capacity. So you're very selective of how you spend your time. So if I'm gonna spend my time making friends, I want to make sure like, oh, okay, this is not it, this is not it, this is not it. But like to younger people, they're more like, just explore. Spend more time, take time to figure like can this person really vibe with me? Like, and I think that's the different approach that they have. And that is why I think it's harder for older people to make friends.
So if you had a piece of advice for older people, what would it be? And for younger people in that sense as well, about making friends. Is it leave your preconceived notions behind when you want to make new friends, or you know?
How do you want me to answer that? Philosophically or like,
I don't know, because you
Practically?
practically, practically, like, you know, for younger people who are looking to make new friends, like, what should they do? Like, you guys are the experts at making friends.
I'll talk
like,
about the older people first.
okay.
I cannot change your priority about maybe you have work or family or partner. I can't change that. But I can tell you my experience because I'm maybe a little bit older. Like, we only live that long. Like your life, right, is going to be a book full of chapters, and friends make up the chapter. It's not just your partners and your family. So if you want more exciting chapters, make more friends. Like you cannot see it now, but in hindsight, you'll be able to see like, oh, these people actually make your life more colorful. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I mean, to add on, right, like no one person can meet all your needs.
Yeah.
So I'm married and there's activities I do with my husband, but there are a lot of things I enjoy doing that my husband doesn't like to do with me, right? Which is why I need friends to do
Like
all those
what,
other things.
Grace?
Like a ton of things. Like, I love rock climbing. My husband doesn't. So I still have like other friends I go
Yeah.
rock climbing with. There's kind of like different food cuisines that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And my husband doesn't. So I'm not going to force him to come and eat pasta with me if he doesn't like pasta. I have other friends I'll just go eat pasta
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the younger people part, I also want to hear your answer later, but I think there's a divide in our time now. Like the 25, will be like, oh my God, you're 35. I'm
I
like,
felt
bro.
that.
I'm like, bro. Yeah, so, but at my event, people don't really reveal their age. So you don't
Is it because you tell them not to, or they just don't?
no, they don't. They don't. Yeah. So I think it helps if you don't know the age. If you start off by saying, "Oh, actually, I'm 35," the 25, I'm like, "Oh my God, you're 10 years older
So
than me."
old.
Like, how am I gonna talk to this old guy? I'm like, 10 years later, it will be your turn.
Yeah.
But so I think try not to have too much. What's the word? Like preconceived notions about
Notions, yeah.
people. Yeah. And I think the energy will help you make more friends. I think my observation is generally you make friends around your age range, which means 25, you're probably 30, and then 30, 35 might be a little bit easier, I think. I don't know.
Grace, do you have any advice
I
for
guess
young people?
My advice for young people and older folks is actually the same, which is to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the difference between like friend making events versus like a dating event, right, is that when you're at a dating event, you're looking for someone who fits your type or your criteria.
Yes.
Whereas the exciting thing about friendship, I think, is the fact that you're looking for people who are different from you, right? And actually, what makes some really great friendships is when they have like a different life experience, a different like point of view, and then
Yep.
when you exchange that knowledge, exchange those stories, like that's what makes the conversation exciting. Yeah. So I think that's what I enjoy about friend making events. Also, it's also because you can manage the expectations by saying that you have no idea who you're going to meet, right? But all the more, like, keep an open mind. And I mean, as humans, we're so judgy often. Like, you meet someone, you like size them up, and you're like, does this person like meet my vibe or not? But generally, the more you chat with someone, I mean, especially if you're able to have a good conversation with them and like you uncover the many layers of the person, then you're able to click and find common ground on something unexpected. Yeah. So maybe, I mean, two people, I don't know, like could seem so different, but they find a common like liking for Labubu. You know? So I think it's also just about finding, you know, like that
Labubu
common ground.
continues across the episode.
I have a question for you. You
Yeah.
use the word judgmental, right? Do you think Singaporeans are more judgmental in this kind of setting?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
As opposed to what other setting?
Like people from like Malaysia or Indonesia?
Like, yeah, do you think Singaporeans just, you know, are a bit more like cagey when it comes to like meeting new people? That's,
I
like,
think
prejudged.
it's also quite human, right? To just form impressions of someone based upon all the past experiences you have of a certain kind of person or certain kind of interaction. So I think that's why it's important to like remind people to let that judgment go, or to like come into, especially when coming for like a friend making event, right? Like whether it's offline or friend zone or any of the other new social events out there, which is to really come, like be yourself, and do your best to engage in conversation and be curious about the other person. Like don't just, oh, they do this job, I don't want to talk to them anymore. But rather like, you do this job, oh, why? Like what got you into this? Or like apart from the job, what other interesting thing does this person have?
So to eliminate that judgment part, so at my event, I actually set a rule where you can't talk about work in the first half of the event. I can you imagine like if the person says, I'm an insurance agent, you'd be like, okay, like, okay,
Yeah,
you can
get
stop
me
here.
out of here, man. Like-
Or if the person says, oh, I'm a lawyer, and then you'd be like, oh my God, like lawyer, like, but the lawyer can also be chill, right? And have a conversation. So we limited the part. I think it makes it easier for people to talk.
So what do they talk about? About what they watch? I don't know. What are some of the common conversations that?
So I'll ask you a
me.
question. If you met somebody for the first time and you cannot ask about work, what would you ask?
Wow. Okay. How's it going?
No.
Oh dear.
Oh, it's
How
hard,
to
right?
start? Yeah, it's hard. I don't know if you. What music do you like?
Yeah.
I guess. Do you have dogs, or are you a fur parent?
Yeah.
Do you have a fur kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So I think it's really hard. But I think if you talk to people from other countries, like Western countries, I think they can skip past the work part and they can have a great conversation. It's like quite magical when they talk. So I try to learn some of that as well. I know it's hard. But my co-founder thought it was crazy when I said you can't talk about work. She's like, then what do people talk about? I said, you mean you have nothing else to talk about from work?
Yeah, I mean, also to add on, right? Like, people are multifaceted, and there's so many
Yes.
different dimensions of
Yeah.
a person than just like, what's your job? So, I mean, to add on, like, one of the questions I love to ask is, what's something that you're excited about right now? You know, or like, what's the best like content that you recently saw? You know, what's the best like YouTube video or like TikTok account? Something that will get people excited. And I think one of the observations I have at our events, right, is that even the shyest person, once you get them like talking about the thing they care about or they're really passionate
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you would have unlocked them. So I think in conversation, it's also about trying to find like, okay, what's this like passion topic that a person has? Because generally, like people's niche topics, like I have a friend who's super into Survivor. You know,
Like the show?
Yeah, the show.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Right. But it
I
was
have a friend who loves Survivor too.
but it's
We
like
should
a
meet.
super niche thing, right? You know, and then, but like, it's really interesting because they have so many like unique perspectives about this thing that you wouldn't have known. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you got me thinking. Wait, so do you guys? So you have like conversation cards at your event, right? And then they get to pick like the question they want, or what are some of the questions that are on the
So like,
cards?
Friendzone events have different themes generally. So for example, one theme can be about friendship. One theme is about defining success as a young person. Another event could be about passion and purpose, like, you know, what gets you excited, what do you care about? And in our events, they generally have 3 rounds of conversation so that people can ease into the conversation and get comfortable to open up with one another. So it's really quite structured, but it really helps like introverts or shyer people who need a bit more time to open up. And we also have facilitators at the session who really welcome like the quieter ones to speak up and ensure the more extroverted ones don't fully dominate the conversation. Yeah, so the conversation kind of starts with like, you know, hey, what's your name? You know, what are you excited about lately? Or, you know, what's your job? What do you do for school? What are your hobbies? And then perhaps it moves a bit deeper into the topic for the day, right? You know, like what does success mean to you? Or like, who are your close friends? Share a fun memory you've had with your friends lately. And then when it gets to the 3rd round, when people go deeper, we have this tool called the conversation menu. So it's like the idea, you know, when you go to a cafe and you order a drink from a menu, you're like selecting something to order for yourself, right? But in this case, we have our conversation menu has prompts. So they have a lot of different questions around the topic. So people can pick a question that they're curious about to invite the rest of the group to give them perspective on.
It sounds very intense for first time meeting. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, it's really
it's not
fun
actually
though.
that
I
intense
think
though. I mean, like the way the session is structured really allows you to just like ease into the conversation. Yeah, you should come and experience it for yourself. Yeah.
maybe we'll do a podcast at the at one of these events. Jarell, you have a very interesting thing that you do, which is the vibe check call, which
Yeah.
you were talking about.
Yeah.
Can you explain what it is and why you do it?
Okay, so fundamentally, when we first came up with the idea, it was to remove one thing, which was people who sell things at events. It's actually very common in networking, whether it's a professional or other kind of social networking, that people will come and be like, hey, actually, I sell this thing, or you want to buy this watch or whatever. And I hated it. So I wanted to remove that. Along the way, I also realized I want to create this maybe brand / persona of what offline people really are. Like somebody who's like if I tell you this offline persona, you know exactly who fits among your group of friends. So the vibe check call is also for us to kind of filter out people who we think are controversially in other people's opinion, not socially adept enough to be in a networking event.
So what would you say to people who say that, yeah, but I'm socially awkward and I need that help?
I can't help everyone. I think there are many events,
Yeah.
right? There are many events in that you can join. And even if you travel alone, you will learn so much about yourself just by talking to people from other countries. Let's say if you stay in a hostel, especially as a young adult. I think I learned a lot when I stayed in a hostel. The Westerners were so open to me that I got shocked. I'm like, I don't even know you. Why are you talking to me? And then from there, I brought that kind of attitude. Like, I try to talk to everyone that I meet along the way. So I know it's controversial. Like, I can't save everyone, but I know somebody will save them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask you guys if you have a criteria for what makes a good friend. Like, does it differ from person to person, or do you think people actually sacrifice certain things for friendship?
I can go first about like my definition of like a good friend. I think having fun is one important thing, like someone whose company I enjoy and I can really be myself around. Good sense of humor, we can like joke about things. Someone who can also give good advice, and has a fresh perspective, or someone who's quite wise. Also someone who can call me out, like I think I said earlier, like someone who can call me out and on my blind spots and really support me and like encourage me. I think those are some of the fundamental like core values of what I value in a good friend. Yeah. What about you?
Jarell, I feel you got a long list on. I feel like you got a long list of good friends. You're like master. No, I'm kidding. I'm messing with you. What's your list of what's the qualities of a good friend?
Well, I thought the question was really, really tough to answer. Okay, so I'll answer it one way first. Like, I think for me, being able to laugh with your friend, right, is really important. That for me is like, happiness, and like you enjoy spending time with them. And then you have, on the other hand, friends who have your back when you're in need. So for example, if I'm going through a heartbreak, I know there's one guy I can call. Like, that is the guy. So I think it's really hard to come across a good friend. Good friend needs time to kind of be molded into. Like, you can start as friends, and then over time, the more time you spend together, the more you know each other's life, then the more you can have each other's back. And then you become a good friend from there.
So in dating, there's red flags. Everybody knows, right? But in friendship, do you guys think that red flags also apply? What makes a toxic friend or someone who, has red
For
flags?
sure. I mean, I think like the thing about red flaggy behavior is that, I mean, to be honest, everyone has some amount of red flaggy behavior in them, right? Like, it could be...
Sorry, what's yours again?
Yeah, that sounds great. So we know, like...
sometimes I take a while to reply, and I think I reply my friends, but actually I haven't.
Okay, but why is that a red flag?
I mean, because it's just like something that's not nice, right? I mean, in general social behavior, a red flag is something that someone does that I know you really strongly disagree with, or is strongly like not aligned with your values. Like, for example, a very mean person, right? Or just someone who's very negative or very toxic. Like, I mean, those are the kind of people that generally you don't want to be close friends with. But even even those perhaps very mean or very negative people could also have friends who are just like them. So, I mean, you can find like-minded people no matter what kind of person you are also.
Those moments that you don't reply your friends, do you reply your husband?
I mean, we don't text that much also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just not a texter. Is that what it is?
No, I think sometimes it's like, you see the message and you're like, okay, I need to reply to this, but I need to put in effort to reply to this message. Then like, when you think about it, then you're like, okay, I'll get back to it later. Then you just forget to get back to it.
I'm like the opposite. I feel like I need to reply immediately. Yeah. That's me. I don't know.
But anyway, red flaggy behavior in friends. What about you? Like, what are some red flags in people that you see?
I mean, late is one thing, but I adapt as well. If you're constantly late, I will try to be constantly late as well.
So if you do it to me, I do it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, red flaggy behavior maybe is like, I don't know, typically I think people will say like, saying something bad behind your back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
What if they're just trying to get perspective on your relationship, so they like take it to someone else? Is that what you mean? Like, let's say you guys are having an argument and then they talk about you, about the situation to someone else. Is that bad?
I feel like people think it's bad, but for me, I generally don't care. Like, for example, my personality, some people might not like. But I'm just like, but I can change for you, right? Like,
Okay, you can't change for them.
I mean,
Is that what you said?
yeah, that's what I think. I can't change for them.
Okay, and then you won't be friends with those people.
Yeah, because it's just me, and I will have a certain group of people that can accept me, and I'll just go with that group. I don't have to kind of make the effort and change for another people.
Yeah.
Of course, some people feel like they can change for other people. Same like in a relationship, will you change for your partner? Blah blah blah. Like, okay.
I mean, I think to add on, right, like another example of red flaggy behavior, like you pointed out, was like people being late, right? I think it also comes down to maybe how much you value that friendship,
Their
that
time,
you
how
can
much you value
tolerate
it,
that red flag in them,
Yeah.
right? So, for example, like I have a very good friend, actually one of the co-founders of Friendzone, who is perpetually late, right? And we have this like inside joke where if you ask like, oh, how long are you going to be? She says 30 minutes. And then you have to ask her, real 30 minutes or fake 30 minutes? And then she'll be like, ha ha ha, ha 1 hour, right? But it's also because you know your friend and then you care about the friend and you value the friendship, that even though, okay, my friend is like perpetually late, but that's just them, right? And then I just adapt to it. Like I know, okay, if I'm supposed to meet her at 3, mentally that's a 4, because in reality it'll be a 4 for her. So then I'll just do my thing and then plan my time so that I'll be there at 4. Yeah, but I feel like not every friend you would care that much for to be that tolerant with or like adapt so much for. So I think it also comes down to like the choice of like which friends you want to commit to and invest in, and
Yeah,
which
give
people you're
chance
like,
to, right?
yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna say something?
No, I think like I thought about it like late, right? Is how much you value my time. I
Sorry,
spend
Grace,
all
I'm with you.
I spend all the time to make sure I'm early. I wake up at this time. I get my lunch sorted, and I get meeting you at this time. But it feels like you didn't really think about all these things. Like I'll be standing there waiting. So sometimes I think this way. Sometimes I also like this. I'll just be late. This whatever.
Do you guys feel like when you know someone longer, you just give chances to friendship and then they might then take advantage of that? And is that a good thing in friendship?
I mean, I agree with the first part that when you know someone for longer, also because you have more history with them,
Yeah.
and there's more like trust or like fond memories that the foundation of the friendship has been built on, it's a lot easier to give your friends chances. For example, if they're late or they keep flaking on you, I think especially for those friends, I think that's when it's also important to perhaps also not be too self-centered, right? To even ask them like, hey, you've been like flaking recently or you keep cancelling last minute. Like, what's going on in your life? You know, is there something deeper that you want to talk about, or like what's happening with you, right? Or if now's just not a good time to meet up, then like let's round back 1 year later or something. So I think with older friends, you do give more grace, or at least I think I give more grace just because grace, haha, just because.
You have to live it, Grace. You are Grace.
Just because like I care for that friendship, but I do think that generally when you're meeting someone new, like you don't have that much foundation to go on. So if they're gonna like not respect your time, right, or flake on you or not show up, then it is easier to just like, okay, you don't value me, then okay, I'm not gonna invest so much in this relationship. Yeah.
I mean, I would ask my friend like, so if you go out with your girlfriend, are you usually late? Say, yeah. Well, I guess we're all the same then.
You're equal in his eyes.
Yeah, you're equal, yeah.
Girlfriend or friend.
Yeah, but I might not accept it if you meet your girlfriend, you're not late, and you meet me, you're late. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely one level lower than your girlfriend. But it's fine because I think priorities, right? Like families first. If you meet your mom, would you be late? If you meet your girlfriend, would you be late? If you meet me, would you be late? I just want to be the same as them.
Okay, interesting question, because when you interviewed by ST last year, right, you were talking and you mentioned this earlier about when you found your friends getting married and having children, you as a single person, weren't on the same life stage as them.
Yeah.
Like, how did it feel to, I won't say you lose your friends, but changing priorities and you're not at the top priority? What was that like for you? Because I feel this, I can understand what you're going through, but I just want to hear it from you.
So I spend a lot of time on the week because I'm single, right? Then I spend a lot of time on the weekends at home. And then you open your Instagram and you see your friends with your partners, you see your friends with the families, you see your friends with the dogs. And then you'll be like, oh, I probably need my own friends. Like you realize over time that you're not up the list anymore. And that's the reality of life as you grow older. Like I realized it when my friends got married. I think people who have friends who haven't got married and wouldn't realize it yet. Because you ask them out and they'll be like, hey Grace, are you free? And Grace, yeah, Grace is free. I'll ask you, are you free? And you're free. I come to a point where I ask everyone and nobody's free. Like, oh my God. So it feels a bit sad. It feels a bit lonely. I will not deny. That is why I put my energy into offline at the start. I really wanted to make sure people had a chance to meet people, and also for myself to meet people along the way. But
so you were very proactive about it, lah. Yeah. I mean, you didn't sit there and sulk in I
can't change them. I can't change them. So I feel like I have to change something about myself. Like meet people, go out and meet people more often. And then I realized that in Singapore it's very hard. People are very guarded, and you try to talk to the people at the next table, they're like, "Oh, sorry, who are you? You trying to sell me something or what?" No. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you feel lonely? You feel lonely? I can sense some loneliness from that question.
No, so I think I'm quite lucky that I have friends. Most of my friend group are people who are single. I also have friends. A lot of my friends have a lot of friends. But yeah, I know I get with you. I get of married people and then having kids because they're raising little humans and they need a lot of time. And of course, do I feel sad about it? Yeah, I think then you just adapt and then we just move on lah, and then maybe not so close to that person anymore.
I think it's also about accepting, like the acceptance, right? That when you transition through life stages, people change and people's priorities change.
Yeah.
And like you said, right, married friends move on and like they have kids and their schedules are very different. So you just adapt in the season to make new other single friends. Yeah.
Grace, as a married person, you just got married this year. Congratulations.
Thank
What
you.
would you tell your married friends who still have single friends and then they were close and then they got married? How did they
Asking
manage?
for herself.
Was it me? They sound like me. No, what kind of advice would you give to married people who, still have
I mean,
friendships?
I suppose I cannot fully empathize right now because I don't have kids of my own. So I think it's very different also to say like, I really don't know how difficult it is to be a parent when the life of your child and taking care of that child, right, is really your priority. And of course, there's that parental love that I think it's inexplicable and none of us understand right now as people without kids, right? But I would say that friendship does take two hands to clap, right? So I think both parties to put in effort and to accommodate both ways. Like hopefully there would be that level of like, what's the word? Like accommodating? Yeah, or compromise, right, to be found within friends. Like I have heard of people who are married with kids and they will like leave their kids with their in-laws or leave their kids with a babysitter just so they can have the time to make time for their friends and meet up with friends. But like, so it can be possible. I mean, because I've heard stories of it.
It's possible. I've experienced it. I have a very good friend, Annabelle. You're very good. Give me a shout out. But I have this couple friend who is like very good at like making time for their friends. So it is possible. But I mean, I don't expect it of them all the time because their priority is their kid, right?
Yeah. And I think then also for the single friend, right, whose friends have kids, then it's also like, how much can you also go out of your way to be in the life of your friend and the kid, right? I mean, maybe once in a while, like once a year, twice a year, to go to the playground and just go sweaty, then just wear dry fit, like do things to adapt. Or go for a workout in the playground.
I will get the dry fit, yes.
I actually have accepted that my level of friendship with this group of friends who just got married and have kids will not be the same anymore. I think I've come to accept it.
Yeah.
What if their kid like grows up and then they're like self-sufficient as humans and then they're like, Jarell, hey, let's go drinking, let's try and
But
rekindle.
the problem is I might have my kid then though. I think I'm of course open, but then at that point in time, then we have to reevaluate like the friends that I make over the last 5 years, for example. I might be wanting to build a friendship with them. Then they could still come into my life, but they might sit at the lower priority. I don't know yet because we don't know what life is going to bring us, right? I could make friend that I like. To be honest, like my friends, I think my longtime friends, I have very different interests from them, and I have similar interests to other new friends that I make. So I also come to accept that, but doesn't mean I'm ditching that friendship. We just move on and
the back burner for now.
Yeah.
I think also, people grow, right? Like who we are when we were kids and who we are now, so different. So even like secondary school friends or JC poly friends, like as you grow and mature and you find new hobbies and you like have different industry niches, it's natural that your interests and your values will change also.
Yeah.
And so likewise, like to let your friendships evolve over time is important, right? To not be too hung up on the past. Like yes, you have good memories with the people when you were younger, but you don't have to be like best friends in adulthood.
Yeah.
Like your childhood bestie doesn't have to be an adult bestie. Like they were your bestie in childhood and that was it. Yeah.
I think we should avoid the labels, bestie. Like there's so much like connotation to it, right? I feel like this is my take, hot take.
Hot take.
Okay, take us home with this last question. Okay, what advice do each of you have for people who feel like they've lost the ability to make friends?
I think a piece of advice for people who feel they've lost the ability to make friends. I think it's worth reflecting. Is it a you thing or is it a them thing? Right? Like, is it you're not making time for your friends or is it they're not making time for you? Right? Is it a you thing in the sense that like maybe it's your skills that need improving? Maybe your conversation is too standard script, right? Like, oh, what do you do for work when you're meeting someone new? Can you improve your body language, your style, your dressing, your appearance, your first impressions? Can you learn how to be a better conversationalist, right? So I think it comes down to like to thinking about, okay, is there other ways I can improve myself so that I can have better interpersonal skills to form new friendships? But at the end of the day, I think like friendship is a journey that takes time. So to also be patient with yourself and to be compassionate as you like put yourself out there and meet new people. Like you won't be everyone's cup of tea, but hopefully, you know, like when you put yourself out there enough, you will meet people that you can click with and vibe with, and people whose values align with you and that you have fun with and enjoy. Yeah.
So I thought about this before I came, right? When we grew up, we went to school and we studied so hard every day to make sure we score an A for exam. To validate our parents and validate ourselves. You go to the gym every day to work out and it's so hard, you're in pain every day to get a good body. So friendship is actually, making friends is actually easier than all of those. So if you can do all of those, I'm pretty sure you can make friends. But the caveat is you need to put in effort and time. There's no way you meet somebody new on the first day and know this person is going to be a friend, a good friend for life. You constantly go out, explore, hang out with them, say some jokes. Maybe the person is on the same frequency as you and you kind of get a good feel of it. And it's going to take time. So you have to put time into it. And then my next point is, think about what brings you happiness. Your family, your partner, your friends bring you happiness. For me, friends bring me great happiness. When I go out with my bros and I vibe with them, I'm like, I'm the most happy of all. So if you can think about what makes you happy, take the time, take the effort to do it, it's going to be easier than studying for exam. I can assure you that.
Okay. You guys really like gave me a lot to think about. Like I don't know if you could tell, but I was like thinking about all my friendships, like when you guys were saying things. So I think this was kind of a really illuminating conversation for me. It's like,
you're welcome.
Yes. Yeah, well, thank you both for being on the show. I just really liked the conversation a lot, and I hope like the viewers of The Usual Place actually, were able to get something out of this conversation today. So thank you very much for coming on the show. And if you have made it to the end, I want to hear from you. What is the most difficult thing about making friends as an adult? Tell me in the comment section below. And while you're here, like, subscribe, or hit the notification bell to get fresh content from The Usual Place. Now, if you want to listen to the podcast version of this episode, you can catch the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on the ST app. And you can also find me on Instagram. I'm at theusualplace_net. I'll see you next time at The Usual Place. See you.